Y'all, you know when the devil doesn't want to let you be great? The devil's trying to come for us on Juneteenth. The devil's trying to come for the Joy Reid show. The technical demons jumped in. The train got out of the gate a little bit late. And you know, we do not do that on a general basis. So thank you all for hanging with us in the chat. Good evening. Greetings to everyone. Happy Juneteenth. This is a day that the Lord has made, and the devil is not going to mess with it. Jason.
Hey, I'm about tired of this, man. How do we get literally 30 seconds to get in my train out the station on time, and then you have a major malfunction on your side that now I'm 5 minutes late? And you know I don't like being late, but it's all good.
I can't explain it.
Family, we are here. Oh, go ahead,
Jen. And I'm in Harlem. I'm wondering if maybe it's like the ghosts of old Harlem decided, they're like, what is this happening in our town? Like we don't really understand this. This is new technology and we don't like it. Ooh, let's jump into it and get it. I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but you be down in DMV next week, so let's get this going.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone. Welcome to everybody in the chats. Thank you all for being patient. Yeah, it's been a journey. Everything was fine all day. I promise you. We had no technical issues until like 30 seconds before it was time to go live, and then my system crashed. And then re-uploading and you know how it is. Oh, just logging in to anything with all the security theater that these tech companies have put in place to make it look like they're securing your account, but all they're doing is giving you 18 steps to just log into your email. This is what we're dealing with. Anyway, we made it. Thank you be to Jesus. Big up to everybody that is with us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Substack, everybody on Twitch, if you're listening on an audio platform. If this is your Juneteenth break, tell the Lord thank you. We appreciate you being here. Please hit like and subscribe. Please spread the word. We want to increase our Team TJRS family. Big ups to everyone who are our readers, who mean you subscribe both to Substack and to YouTube. But please tell a friend, hit the notification bell so that you can let everybody know that you're a reader, and share the wealth and get more people to subscribe. We appreciate you so much. I want to remind you guys that the Run Me My Slush Money is still there. You guys can join that. That will allow you to be on the mailing list to find out if they start giving out reparations. And look, it's Juneteenth. If they start giving out reparations, we want to be first in line and make sure that our readers are first in line to get that money. And also to tell your United States Senator and United States Congress people to clamp down on it. Stop the idea of giving out reparations to January 6ers. Do not do that. We want real oversight. And we also want our Capitol restored to the way it was when the demon got there. So that is all part of what you can get if you use that little QR code to add yourself to the Run Me My Slush Money mailing list. We will not spam you with information, I promise you. It is not a mailing list. We're going to email you anything. We're just going to make sure we can get in touch with you when there are developments, specifically developments regarding the slush fund, which is still not dead yet. Donald Trump has been precluded from doing some of it, but it's still not dead. So we're going to keep our eye on that. Also want to remind you guys that June is not only, today's Juneteenth, June is Pride Month. So happy Pride to everybody that is celebrating Happy Pride. It's also Black Music Month, but it's also our birthday month. We celebrate our birthday all month long. So if you want to get yourself some Juneteenth gear, I am wearing my Juneteenth in the appropriate colors t-shirt today. If you want to get yourself one, just use the code BIRTHDAY at the shop.thejoyreidshow.com. 15% off everything in the store, including this fabulous t-shirt if you want that. We are not going to do our members only live this week because we figure it's Juneteenth. Take the evening off, enjoy the show, and then take the rest of the evening off. We'll do our members only next week, but feel free to continue to celebrate the Knicks, which was one of the main things that was on our roster this week. We're still editing some behind the scenes footage from covering that Knicks historic parade, the very first ticker tape parade ever for the New York Knicks in this basketball city of New York. So feel free to celebrate them all week, because we certainly will as well. Let me thank one of our favorite sponsors who's sponsoring this episode. Big ups to Willie's Remedy. The show is brought to you tonight by Willie's Remedy. Now, if you're tired of waking up hungover and worrying about what happened last night, which you might be if you overdo it tonight, you now can have fun and relax without any other regrets using Willie's THC. It is an infused social tonic inspired by Willie's way of living, where peace flows freely and hangovers are a thing of the past. It is a low-calorie, low-sugar alcohol alternative that actually works, delivering a fast-acting, euphoric social buzz without the regrets that come with alcohol. Willie's social tonics come in 5 milligram and 10 milligram doses with a best-in-class flavor experience, so smooth and balanced, you barely realize you're drinking a THC product at all. You can enjoy the tonics as a shot, sipped over ice, or mixed into your favorite mocktail. Willie's is not that feared edible you ate too much of in college. Each bottle of Willie's is third-party, lab tested for accurate dosage so you can trust and customize your experience. Willie's unique blend of THC, CBD, CBG, and L-theanine delivers a feeling of calm, clarity, euphoria, and relaxation. One shot of Willie's helps you relax, unwind, and de-stress. It's perfect for taking the edge off after a long day at work or while socializing with friends. Willie's offers a kind of feeling that makes good company even better. If you'd like to try it, Willie's ships directly to your doorstep in 40 plus states and is sold out 3 times in the last 6 months with more than 300,000 happy customers. So order now at drinkwillies.com. Use the code JOY for 20% off your first order, plus free shipping on orders over $95, and live like a legend. To all the girls I've loved before, we love them. It's that Willie. All right. So as it is Juneteenth, let us start with the queen of Juneteenth, 99-year-old Opal Lee, who still did her walk in Texas. She was born in 1926 in Marshall, Texas, the retired school teacher who spent decades advocating for the Texas holiday, commemorating the true end of slavery for those Texas enslaved folks who 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation were still not informed that they were freedom, 250,000 of them. And it became a national holiday in large part because of her advocacy. And here she is. I want to play you guys a video of her celebrating the pen that was used by President Biden to sign that holiday into law. Take a look.
This is the pen that President Biden used to sign Juneteenth into law. I'm Opal Lee, and I've had this marvelous day at the White House. The young people would say, it's off the chain. I knew I was coming because Juneteenth had been made a national holiday, and the president was signing the bill into law, and I was invited to the signing of that bill.
Looking out across this room, I see the advocates, the activists, the leaders who have been calling for this day for so long, including the one and only Miss Opal Lee.
Over the course of decades, she's made it her mission to see that this day came. She's walked for miles and miles, literally and figuratively, to bring attention to Juneteenth, to make this day possible.
You cannot imagine how joyful, how humble, how magnificent the whole thing has been. There may be some of you who don't know what Juneteenth is. The enslaved in Texas were told they were free for 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation freed them. They'd watch in our churches and they'd pray for freedom to come. And it finally did. When General Gordon Granger and 7,000 colored troops from New Jersey and New York made their way to Galveston, Texas. And he read General Order Number 3 that said all slaves are free. When those people came in from their labor and somebody read that to them, we started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since. Juneteenth is not a Texas thing. It's not a black thing. We're talking about freedom for everyone.
A proud member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, Miss Opal Lee, 99 years young, still super cute, and still celebrating. And she celebrated today, even though it was raining in Texas, but she still celebrated because she's that leader. We love Opal Lee. She's fabulous. If you ever get a chance to meet her, she's amazing. And by way of contrast, to President Biden and Kamala Harris. You saw Vice President Kamala Harris in that picture. Here is how your current president celebrated Juneteenth. Jason, if you should show that, it's very strange. I cannot explain that other than deep, deep, deep mental illness, to be honest with you. And our team checked. There was no commemoration of Juneteenth on the White House website today, not a one. And you still cannot go to national parks for free today because of an executive order by that same demon. It's not free to go to national parks, even though this is a federal holiday. So there we have that. And I think maybe what you're seeing here is not just deep mental illness and sundowning and age-related degenerative cognitive disease. I think what you're also seeing is deep envy and a distaste for Black people, if we're just being honest. You know, this administration doesn't like the Blacks, right? JD Vance was on. I don't know if you guys saw JD Vance when he was on The View, and Whoopi Goldberg asked him, "What did the Blacks ever do to you to make you start erasing history?" And JD Vance is like, "Well, what history, Whoopi?" And then Sonny jumped in and Anna Navarro say, "You're only letting white South Africans in. You're erasing history." And to answer them, JD Vance literally said, "This administration cares about everyone. Everyone's welcome in our coalition. Por ejemplo, look at the reduced crime and murder rate in the District of Columbia." Like non sequitur to show you're racist. You know, he went to a racist non sequitur to say, I mean, you know, we reduce crime in a very Black city. Racist much? Because that has nothing to do with what they asked. They said that's not about crime. We're asking you about history race. But anyway, I think there was some hatred of Blacks mixed in there, but I think it's also hatred of this holiday because, of course, Joe Biden signed it into law, so he hates Joe Biden, hates Juneteenth. But I also think it's a little bit of an edge about Obama, right? It's kind of hard to imagine almost anything Trump does that's not a reaction to Obama. He got rid of the JCPOA, which was the Iran nuclear deal, because he couldn't stand that Obama had done the deal, so he had to get rid of it and do a better one. We're going to talk later in the show about how it's much, much worse. But Obama, unlike Donald Trump, was able to do something that he was not able to do over this Juneteenth weekend. Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, chose this weekend, Juneteenth weekend, as the moment to launch officially his presidential library in South Side of Chicago, the South Side of Chicago. And it was an amazing event, which hopefully you guys got a chance to stream right here on the Joy Reid Show channel. And if you haven't, you can at your leisure go back and watch it. It's really worth watching it all the speeches, all the music. But I want you guys to take 3 minutes and just listen to what I think was the best speech of the day, with all due respect to Barack Obama. And that would be the speech by our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama. Take a listen. Oh, well, okay. This is not the speech yet. This is, we'll just go ahead and keep playing it. So this was the opening and all the celebs that you saw. You see Common, you see J Hud, you see Common, you see Bruce Springsteen, of course, Stevie Wonder singing. You kind of saw all the stars. And this is the thing that is igging Trump, I think. I think it is his, what's really enraging him is to see all of those stars when he couldn't get, look at Obama bopping. He could not get the celebs to come out for him. And there is no sound on this on purpose because we couldn't play the sound because YouTube doesn't allow it. So we can't play the sound. And they're playing a Stevie Wonder song, so we can't do that. But it was an incredible celebration. Please go back and watch it. You'll see obviously Michelle, the kids. You can see Sasha and Malia. You see Michelle, you see Kamala Harris there. You saw the governor of Illinois behind her. Just all the stars, John Legend, you name it. Steven Spielberg was there. Oprah was there. All the stars were there. There's Oprah. And this is what Barack Obama can summon. There you see Tyler Perry. There's the former Speaker of the House Pelosi. There's Governor Gavin Newsom. There's Hakeem Jeffries. Like, you name it. All the celebs, political and otherwise, were there. They were all there. So there's Bruce Springsteen. There's Steven Spielberg. These are the kinds of people that President Obama can still call forth to come and be a part of the opening of his presidential library. When Donald Trump ultimately opens his presidential library, there will be none of these people. There will be none of this. There will be none of this kind of camaraderie across the culture, because this is something that Obama can summon that Trump cannot. And I do think that he's triggered by that. He's triggered by the fact that Barack Obama is beloved and he is not. He is hated, so much so that when he tried to do his Trump 250 to celebrate himself and to celebrate supposedly the 250th anniversary of the country, no one wanted to come. But when Obama, puts out, they did a really great promo for it where they looked like it was like a group chat, and he's group chatting every celebrity known to man. They're like, yeah, we'll be there anytime. Sure, of course. And he couldn't do it. Even getting all the former presidents to come too. All the living presidents were there. They were with Trump and they were with Obama. They would never be with Trump. So let me now show you, let me just take 3 minutes to show you a little bit of Mrs. Obama's speech, which was spectacular. Take a listen.
Please indulge me for a moment, because I'm going to take a little time to do something that I know my husband will not do today, and that is to fully sing his praises. Barack, you got to look at me. You told me all those years ago that you couldn't promise me the world, but you could promise me an interesting life. And of course, you outdid yourself and managed to give me both. I know it hasn't always been easy, but there hasn't been a single second through this experience that standing by your side hasn't left me in awe. 8 years in the crucible, and not once did you melt from the heat. Not once did you let it harden you. Instead, you used it to reveal your truest essence, your stubborn optimism and unflinching courage, your dazzling brilliance and unpretentious decency, your ferocious work ethic, and absolutely unshakable moral fiber. And to do it all as a first, and the higher standard that comes with all that, the claims that a U.S. senator and constitutional law expert wasn't qualified for the job, the lies about your birthright, your faith, your patriotism, the outrage when you stated the biological fact that if you'd had a son, that he too would be black. Yet, you were unflappable at every turn, always focused, always calm, always looking at the long view. How absurd it is to even imagine that you might have buckled under the pressure even once, lashed out in frustration, lost your temper. How absurd it is to imagine that you might have done anything but make our family and this entire country proud. You never changed from that idealistic summer associate who showed up on that rainy day when we first met without an umbrella. You always gave us the very best within you, and in doing so, you reminded the rest of us that we could too.
Teresa Ansbach says that this is going to be plagiarized one day by Melania. Probably yes. And there was one person in the chat and YouTube said that she can't plagiarize it. But yeah, if you read all of those superlatives about Barack Obama to be a low-key go high diss of Donald Trump, then you and I are on the same page. Because she said you didn't lose your temper, you don't embarrass the country, you went out there even when you were attacked. I mean, she was basically describing the inverse of the current president without saying his name. It was brilliant. It was so beautifully done. And I read it as shade. A lot of people read it as shade, but it's just true that he is the inverse of the current president in every way, in the dignity of him, the brilliance of him, the intelligence of him, the knowledge of the Constitution, but also that part at the end, the sort of relentless optimism. I was having a conversation with the wonderful Alex Wagner today on Substack, and we talked about the fact that having both covered President Obama, that relentless optimism is actually real. That's what he's not faking that. Like, he actually has this sort of real belief in the country and an optimism about the country. Whereas Trump, remember, he ran saying America is going to hell. America's garbage. America ain't crap, is crap. You know, his speech was nicknamed American Midnight, his inaugural speech. Whereas President Obama is the sunny on the hill, everything can work out guy, right? And that's what his speech was, and that's what her speech was. So I think that is what bothers the right about the Obamas is that they do represent this relentless optimism and this sort of beautiful vision of the country that they can't match, because what they have is the blood sport of a UFC cage fight, an ass, mocking that woman, that brilliant, beautiful woman, accomplished, brilliant woman, and their first lady has her nudes out on Twitter. You can get her nudes, you can Google them right now. And that's the opposite of Michelle Obama. And I think that's why they're angry, is that the culture and the sort of high culture of the US is really represented by the Obamas. Now, let me let you all listen to a little bit of the Obama speech, which I also read as low-key shade to the current president, but also just a celebration of the best of America. Here's President Obama.
And because it hadn't been done before, the success of this experiment was never a given. In forming our union, the founders fell terribly short of the Declaration's promise, leaving slavery intact, allowing states to restrict the franchise to white men who own property. But in drafting a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, they did have the foresight, the genius, to provide us with a framework that allows each generation to make our union more perfect. And over more than 2 centuries, through petitions and protests, marches and strikes, moral appeals from the pulpit, and conversations at the family dinner table, men and women from all walks of life, of every color, every faith, every region, took up the cause of democracy and made it their own, until we, the people, came to include not just some of us, but all of us. And that's why the story we tell in this building begins not with Michelle's origins or my origins, but with our nation's, with a founding era print of the Declaration of Independence, and a pen and inkstand used by Frederick Douglass, Lincoln's Bible, and a pamphlet by Ida B. Wells, suffragist buttons, and a hard hat worn by FDR's Labor Secretary, Francis Perkins. And it's why the exhibits here focus not just on policies, but on the shared values that make democracy possible. A belief in the intrinsic dignity and worth of all people, and that no one is above the law or beneath its protection. A belief in checks and balances in our government, and an accountability that comes with an independent judiciary and a robust free press. A belief that our military and law enforcement owe allegiance not to any president or political party, but to the people and our Constitution. A belief in the peaceful transfer of power after the people have spoken in fair and free elections, recognizing that in a large, complicated society like ours, no group or faction gets its way 100% of the time. And a belief that qualities of character, honesty, integrity, kindness, compassion, a sense of duty and honor, those things matter in our public dealings, just as they do in our private lives. These are not these are the values and traditions I believe in. And they are not Republican or Democratic values. They're American values we can all share, regardless of party. Values every president here today, as different as we are, has tried our best to uphold.
Every president here today has tried our best to uphold. And it is interesting to hear every president who was there today. And Jason, if you could roll A6, because not all the presidents were there. And I think he was very intentional about saying that whether or not they agreed, and they disagreed on much, the living presidents who were there today, and I think we can add President Carter, where he's still with us, all agreed on fundamental American values. And I think it was very intentional to point out, even there's the Mint and Mrs. Obama, the famous George W. Bush mint. I'm no fan of George W. Bush. I do not really love the way he's been sort of muppetized after having done the Iraq War. But I do respect the fact that this is a very small club, the presidency. And the thing that has always united presidents, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, is that they have a fundamental belief in certain American values. Even Nixon did. That's why Nixon resigned when he was faced with impeachment, because he'd rather not ascribe the shame of being thrown out of office to the presidency. He resigned to save the presidency from ignominy, right? I can't imagine a Donald Trump ever doing anything like that, because he doesn't describe the fundamental American values. What's fascinating to me about the contrast between our current president and President Obama is that they both represent two kinds of immigrant stories. Trump represents the kind of immigrant story that Giuliani and Ron DeSantis represent, people whose families got to the country in either the late 19th or early 20th century and adopted wholesale the white supremacy part of our heritage, but did not at all adopt the Statue of Liberty part of the premise, right? They're sort of, it's crazy that Giuliani and Trump are from New York, because they do not ascribe to even the values of New York. The idea of inclusiveness, the idea of that Statue of Liberty, a enslaved woman with chains around her feet, but that's welcoming the people of the world. Like, they don't ascribe to the true sort of immigrant narrative of amalgamating out of many one. They don't ascribe to that. They describe to the white supremacy part of American history. Whereas Obama's family is half an immigrant family, an African immigrant, right? Married to a white American whose progenitors had slaves, owned slaves. Oh, Trump is the first president in our history whose family did not have any relationship to the slave narrative, but he worships the South. He reveres the Southern generals. He reveres the Confederacy. So does his entire regime. They do not revere America. They revere the Confederacy. It's almost as if they wish the Confederates had won, because they love the idea of subservient Blacks who are just good for sport, women who are just good to look at and shut up and are like Melania, sort of a silent, woman with lots of the right surgeries. That's what they revere. They do not revere a modern, inclusive America. Obama, who comes from this like half immigrant lineage and this half enslavement narrative lineage, he represents bringing together the new and the old, and he truly believes it. Trump does not. Trump doesn't believe in America. I can't ascribe that kind of Americanness to him at all, because he doesn't believe in it. And people are like, how does he does believe in it? He truly does. So speaking of the other guy, and that is why he's not in the presidential club. That's why you couldn't imagine him sitting there on that dais with those other men and ascribing to those values and cheering for those. You couldn't imagine it. He wouldn't ever cheer for those values because he doesn't believe in them. And by the way, those who pointed out Bono and George Lucas were also there. Yes, I think I missed George Lucas and sort of the run of the people. But yeah, so that's why all the celebrities were there, because it's easy if you are a Hollywood celebrity to go to the Obama opening, because all the values that are going to be espoused on that stage are universal. You can be there because even if you're a person that has to sell your brand or a brand to the world, to the international community, it's perfectly wonderful to marry your brand to Obama, because Obama is a global positive brand. It is dangerous to marry your brand to Trump, even if down low a lot of these Hollywood people like Donald Trump, and I think a lot more do than want to admit it. But attaching yourself to Trump attaches yourself to his values, and his values are really more appropriately represented by the UFC, a caged blood sport full of drunken jerks who hate women, hate Black people, hate the former president, and hate his wife. That's what was there on our White House lawn for Trump. But whereas Obama had an ecumenical, multiracial, multi-religious, just a beautiful kind of mosaic of our entertainment culture, of our political culture, and of bipartisanship. We don't even see George W. Bush very often, but he'll show up for Obama and he'll show up for Jimmy Carter's funeral, because they ascribe to the same values. Even some of the negative values like empire, which we talked about with Ta-Nehisi Coates, they all share that too, but they share the aspiration to be better. Even if they indulged in empire, they share the aspiration to make the country better. That is why they could all be at the same event and cheer for the same things and share the same mints. But our demagogue king can't do that, because all he ascribes to in American history, the only part of it that Donald Trump ascribes to is the white supremacy. So meanwhile, he's also taken his Julio Iglesias Act international. Italy has canceled an official trip to the United States. They've called off an official visit after Donald, after having stumbled around Europe during the G7 conference, like, you know, babbling on about his UFC fight, embarrassing himself, wandering off at weird times, like a person who's in a care home who got away. Gave an interview to an Italian media outlet called LA7 TV, and he said about Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who, by the way, is a conservative and was seen as a Trump ally when it came to immigration. She's an immigration hardline conservative Italian Prime Minister who was an ally of his. He said of her, quote, "She begged me for a picture. She wanted a picture with me so badly. I wouldn't have done it, but I felt sorry for her." Houseway, because she's like, no. So the Italian Senate president responded to that by saying the following: President Donald Trump's words, clearly false, are an obvious attempt to get revenge on the Italian prime minister for not bending to the tycoon's whims. Knowing her very well, I'd bet on eating a live chicken rather than believing Giorgia Meloni would beg anyone. It's pitiful for those who support him, unquote. And basically, again, what he's talking about is that while Meloni is a hardliner on immigration and shared that with Trump, she was pro-Ukraine. She remains, her country is pro-Ukraine all the way, selling arms and, you know, assistance to Ukraine, being on Ukraine's side, which bothered Trump because he's on the Russia side of that war. But also Italy denied U.S. military bombers that were en route to the stupid war in Iran. They were denied permission to land at Signorella Air Base in Sicily. So the Italians said, "We're not in it. We're not letting you land your planes here." And so Trump is so mad about it. He's so sore about it. The other piece of this that is going viral is Meloni's response. So she went on X Twitter and posted her own response. That's the Ignacio de la Russa. That is, he's the president of the Senate. As you're seeing, I just read that. That's his response. And then the next one, the next element, Jason, is Meloni's response. And here it is.
Certe cose meritano una risposta immediata. Le dichiarazioni di Donald Trump sono dichiarazioni totalmente inventate. Sono francamente allibita. Non so perché il presidente degli Stati Uniti si comporti così con i propri alleati. Non è del resto la prima volta che accade. Posso solo dire che dispiace che non abbia la stessa determinazione con i nemici dell'Occidente, con i nemici degli Stati Uniti, con leadership con le quali invece si dimostra.
So I don't speak Italian, but I think I understand an FU without having another language. And I understood when she said fabricazione. It's a fabrication. It's fake. It's a lie. So she said, "You a lie." and I put those pictures up just to show you what her interactions with Trump have actually looked like. So basically that was quite a lie. Yeah. And so Donald Trump is not gonna be able to fix this by making up a holiday because we already did Columbus Day. Y'all do know that Benjamin Harrison issued a one-time presidential proclamation in 1892 to create Columbus Day because some American right-wingers had lynched a dozen Italians in New Orleans. And so they were like, "Oh, crap, international incident with Italy." So they made Columbus Day as a one-day thing. And then later on, FDR, through a congressional proclamation, made it a holiday. And then during the Nixon administration in 71, it became an official national holiday. That is for all of y'all that are mad out there about Juneteenth. All these holidays come about as a result of something happens, something that the U.S. did wrong, and then they make a holiday about it. Or, you know, they kill off Dr. King. They're like, "Let's make a holiday." Yeah, they're all like that. Most of them are like that. That's even why we do Indigenous Peoples Day, because the indigenous people are looking at Thanksgiving like, "Oh, you want to celebrate taking all our land? Do you really?" So it's like Indigenous Peoples Day. Let's do something to make everybody happy. All right. Before we get to our next segment, let me also thank another one of our wonderful sponsors, because this is a brand new sponsor. The Joy Reid Show is brought to you on tonight by Common Power. Last year, when the GOP started early redistricting, they made it clear that earning Americans' votes was the least of their priorities. And after gutting the Voting Rights Act, they've doubled down on their attempts to rig the midterm elections. This is nothing new. Our country has been here before. Common Power is fueled by the historical movements that brought us the Voting Rights Act, a call to action that mobilized volunteers from around the country. They taught us the importance of fighting for our neighbors locally and also across state lines. Alongside their work in Selma, Alabama, they've built an organizing force to train and deploy volunteers to door knock for Democrats in over 20 battleground states and over 50 races this year alone. Their teams are driven by next generation leaders, and we need your support to scale and fund their travel. The election requires our leaders to think outside the box and use every tool at their disposal, including trained, dedicated volunteers from around the country who are mobilizing to win in key battleground states. For those of you who refuse to sit this moment out, please donate today at commonpower.org/crooked. Crooked Media is the company. So it's commonpower.org/crooked. So please help them out because they're going to try to get the vote out. So let's move on. When Dr. King, as you all probably know, because you guys are all history buffs, my readers know all the things. When he went to Memphis in 1968, April of 1968, not 18, 1968. It was to support striking sanitation workers who are being abused by the system. They were being underpaid. They were being put in dangerous sanitation vehicles, like the old broken sanitation vehicles that crushed two Black men who were working, and they were mistreated, not allowed to have breaks the same way, not paid the same, all simply because of the color of their skin. They were being racially abused. And that is why he ultimately went to Memphis to fight for their rights. And this is the grand tradition of civil rights movement. And it's not just about sort of ephemeral rights. It's about the rights of working people, of working men and women, and making sure that they can survive and thrive in the richest country in the world and not be poor. Because one of the things King was calling for is that men who had city jobs should not be having to take welfare. And a lot of them did because they were being so underpaid. And he was like, that's not right. These guys deserve to make the same kind of money. And the union movements have been in that same fight from the very, very beginning, because they're also trying to fight. Still to this day, we're having to fight for the very workers who feed us, who pick the food that we eat, who teach our kids, who serve us food at restaurants, who take care of our family members, who work as nurses, all of the things that are required to make our lives work. We're still having to fight for the rights of those people. One of the entities that does that fight the best and the strongest and the most furtively is the union, the Service Employees International Union, SEIU. So I want y'all to take a minute to take a look at a clip of a promo that they made years ago for something called Justice for Janitors. Take a look.
The Building Service Employees International Union was founded in 1921 by flat janitors in Chicago to organize some of the nation's most exploited workers. The union grew and its members won living wages, benefits, and respect. In recent decades, however, these gains were lost. Janitors nationwide have had to stand together to reorganize their industry. In the 1970s, the structure of the building service industry began to change.
Building owners were not just people that lived in a local town, but they were national companies. And a handful of big building owners owned buildings all over the country.
Building owners, once the direct employers of janitors, cut costs and ducked responsibility by contracting work out to cleaning companies. Cleaning contractors, in turn, transformed full-time union jobs into part-time ones, cut health care and benefits, and spread their reach into non-union suburbs. Between 1964 and 1984, union density in the building service industry fell from 40 to 10%. In some cities, wages dropped by as much as 50%. As contractors consolidated, union locals found themselves isolated, and janitors themselves worked alone for hours on end. Undocumented immigrants feared not only losing their jobs, but also deportation if they spoke out about working conditions.
It's almost like you could have made that literally today. Joining me now is David Huerta, a nationally recognized American labor leader and the president of SEIU, Union Service Workers West. He's a lifelong advocate for immigrant rights, economic justice, and workers' dignity, and he spent over 3 decades organizing and empowering frontline workers across California. David, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Joy. I mean, really, it is a pleasure to be on your show. I'm a big fan, first of all.
Thank you.
And to be here on Juneteenth is even more special.
Fabulous. Exactly. Happy Juneteenth, my friend.
Happy
Thank you
Juneteenth.
so much.
That's right.
Indeed. So let's talk about this because, I think one of the things that everywhere I've worked, I feel like the most important people to speak to, because I think people come in and they step over certain people. You got to speak to the person at the front desk. You walk through, and that security guard in the front, nobody speaks to them, right? But if something goes wrong, that's who's going to help you. And also the cleaning crew. I always would take the time to say thank you, because they're cleaning up after a bunch of grown-ups, and yet getting them to have a decent wage and decent representation is still a struggle. Why?
Well, one, I appreciate that, right? Because we used to say when we first started, I've been doing this for 30 years now, organizing in the janitorial or the property services industry, because now we're janitorial. We are also security officers, we're passenger service workers in airports. So we are the service industry that services industries across the country. But, we used to say, people think that some, fairy comes in every night and, throws the trash, cleans the toilets, vacuums the carpets, and, makes everything look perfect the next day when you come into work. And there is no fairy who does that. That's a worker. There's a worker that comes in every night and comes in at 6 o'clock in the evening, probably doesn't leave till 2:30 in the morning, probably takes public transportation because they can't afford transportation or car, and work hard every night to make sure that those buildings are serviceable the next day. And so, they're kind of considered an invisible workforce, and our job has been to make them visible, to be seen. And that's been the biggest part of the Justice for Janitors movement, is to make a workforce, especially a predominantly immigrant workforce, to be seen and to be treated with the dignity and respect and justice that they deserve. And that's been really the battle that we have fought now for the last 36 plus years, since Justice for Janitors back on June 15th in 1990, when they were beaten in the streets of Century City, exercising their rights to join a union. So, this campaign of Justice for Janitors has been one that has been grounded in civil rights, grounded in workers' rights, grounded in human rights.
And it's very Kingian, right? Because I started for a reason with the, what King was doing in Memphis, because it is the people who, in that case, were cleaning the streets of Memphis, who were being disrespected due to the color of their skin. And now what you're seeing is, I can just tell you, if you look at the janitorial service and the security services, even just at NBC, when I first started there, the security guards are overwhelmingly African-American, overwhelmingly at NBC, going to 30 Rock, going to the DC Bureau. The services in terms of the janitorial service shifted. For a while, it was very Eastern European. When my godmother was working at the Plaza Hotel back in the early 60s, she was Jamaican. Everyone was pretty much from the Caribbean. And it's just, these are immigrant groups, and these are the same groups that are the most vulnerable, other than except for the African Americans, to deportation. Talk about that.
Well, yeah, and that is so true, right? I mean, here in Los Angeles, I mean, it's really a history of Los Angeles in itself, right? I mean, these were good. Sorry, my dogs.
We love dogs on the show.
East LA dogs,
Yes.
The history of Justice for Janitors is so parallel with the history of Los Angeles. And, we look at, this used to be a predominantly African-American workforce. It was African-American, white, Asian, and then Latino, and with the destabilization and the civil wars that were happening as a result of our foreign policy in Central America and the destabilization of the peso in Mexico, it brought a lot of people north, right? Because of our intervention in those countries. Our policies forced people to flee. And they came north. And these property owners, what did they do? Like they do all the time. They look for cheap labor. They look for a way to exploit labor. And, unfortunately, they found they took advantage of that flow of immigration to replace workers and diminish the power of unions. And they did that by intention and by design. That was all by intention and design. And so when we started the Justice for Janitors campaign in the early 90s, late 80s and early 90s, we were rebuilding a union that had been devastated from being 70% density all the way down to 30% density. Wow. People lost pension, people lost health care. We had to rebuild all that. If we had not lost the momentum that we had, from the 80s to now, these workers right now would probably be earning somewhere upwards of $30 to $40 an hour. They'd have full family pension. They'd have the full 9 yards. We've been able to do a really good job of rebuilding, getting people now have full family medical benefits paid by their employee. employer, I'm sorry. They have pension benefits that we're rebuilding slowly but surely. We're rebuilding that pension. We're getting their wages now up to, and hopefully in this next negotiations we have coming up in 2 years, get them to $30 an hour, you know. But the damage was done back then, but the rebuilding has happened over the last 30 years. And what I'm proud to say is right now, this organization, SEIU, who's grounded itself on racial, economic, and social justice, right? Because there is no economic justice without racial justice. There is no social justice without racial justice. That we've rebuilt what we have, but we've also expanded, because those Black workers that were unionized under as janitors moved into the security industry, right? And now who are we organizing? Security officers. And we're raising the standards for those security officers. So we have, you know, Latino janitors, and we have Black security officers working shoulder to shoulder with one another in the same way they live neighbor to neighbor in South Los Angeles, right? And I just think for me, it's just, this is a, when we look at this week of J for J on June 15th and June 19th in the same week, for me, it's like bookends of the fight for civil and social and economic justice. And, you know, for me, it's just, I think it's a week that I always relish every year.
Yeah. You know what's so mad? First of all, you're blowing my mind that it used to be that a job, a job as a janitor or a job as a security guard got you a pension when you retired.
Yeah.
And that you didn't have to worry about retiring. That there was a time before Reagan came and put Reaganomics on us, that you could get that good job, work till you were 60, 65, and then retire with a pension, as my godmother ultimately did when she became a teacher. She got a pension and she's retired, you know, and that's what you could do. It's crazy to me that we've gone to the point where we think that people who do their job standing on their feet all day, who do the hardest jobs and as you said, the invisible jobs that make our life better, don't have pensions. I think that seems criminal.
And it is criminal, right? And I think that's why we have to rebuild, you know, right now when democracy is under threat, right? And it's under threat, right? It's I think today, you know, I was just at a convening of community at the California African American Museum, by the first African American museum in the country, by the way, in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
You know, we had a convening with our Senator Padilla, Senator Smallwood Cueva, state senator, as well as Assemblywoman Sade Aluwari, and we talked about, you know, Juneteenth in a room full of organizers and organizations, and really talked about, you know, how Juneteenth is a celebration, but it's also a day to reckoning, right? That we have to recognize that. You know, what I said was, you know, Juneteenth is the day that all Americans were finally free, right? But it also started a whole, for the next 100 years of state repression through Jim Crow, through the incarceration of Black men and the exploitation of their labor, you know. And then you have, you know, the civil rights movement that started, you know, at almost 100 years after Juneteenth, or we're able to anchor that. And now we're back at the same place, right? We're back at the same place where all of that is really under threat. And so right now, more than any time, how is it that we center workers in the middle of rebuilding our democracy and rebuilding our economy? Because, you know, all workers should have decent wages. All workers should have access to affordable housing. All workers should have access to healthcare, if not, you know, access to single payer healthcare. And all workers should have access to a secure retirement. And all that's under threat under this administration, you know, at this moment in time. And so we have some work to do.
Yeah. And lastly, I think that what you do is so important, because this is the way that we can get our communities together in terms of, there's a lot of tension constantly between all of these different working class people, Latinos and Black people, Korean Americans, Asian Americans, and Black people. It's like there's all of these tensions, but where we all come together and where we all are on the same side, a lot of our communities are working class, have working class jobs, and need each other when it comes to organizing. If you're organizing a union, you need everybody of every race, color, and complexion. Is this a place where on the labor front, we can start to maybe politically organize people and get our communities to work together? Are you hopeful that that is something we can do?
I think it is, right? I mean, right now, unions have not been as popular as in this moment in time for a long time. I think right now it's like 70% of people believe that unions are have a positive image of opinion of unions, right? So there is a popular opinion that unions are actually right now at its zenith in the sense of what they represent to people, right? But I think what we got to do is we have to make sure is we meet people where they're at. Right? We cannot, and we have to make sure that we're not being transactional, that we're actually being transformative with people, right? That we're actually informing people what's possible when we come together and we unite. But we also do, and what we do at SEIU, SWW, and SEIU in general is like we really build power across difference. How do we make sure Black people can show up as Black people, Latinos can show up as Latinos, Asians can show up as Asians? Because the beauty of this country has always been is, you know, the mosaic is the bringing together of so many different languages and peoples and colors and everything like that, that, you know, we can't wax over. The differences we have make us stronger. And we have to bring those together, acknowledge those differences so we can focus on those things that right now we should be fighting on. And like I said, we have to create a worker-centered agenda that is about rebuilding this democracy, not for oligarchs, but for working people.
I got to know SEIU very well in South Florida when I was working in politics, because you guys are the ground troops that are so critical to door knocking, making sure people are registered. You know, it is truly a remarkable organization when it comes to the way that you all unite working people toward the goal, not a partisan goal, but just a goal of participation. How concerned are you about November and whether this is going to be a free and fair election?
Look, I know we're going to have fair elections. I know we're going to have people are going to show up to vote, right? Yeah. We're going to exercise our democracy. We're going to exercise our vote, and I'm confident in that because you can feel already how people are really upset with this current administration and being lied to. You know, I knew he was lying every time I was listening to you earlier about, you know, the Italian prime minister and the controversy there. But every time that man moves his mouth, there's a lie coming out of it. You know what I mean? But you know, the thing is that, you know, we have to prepare now, right? Because as much as we're exercising our right to vote, he can easily just completely undo the democracy that we're voting on, right? And it's not, shouldn't be lost on us that we just had an election in California. Yes, it took us a little while to count votes.
Sure.
But we are the largest state population in the country. I mean, I think
the size of Canada. The population of Canada.
There was 2.2 million votes casted in Los Angeles alone, right? And 70% of the people who casted those votes, voted by mail. Those things have to be verified. And I'm proud of the fact that every vote will be counted and that every vote will be verified. And to date, there has been no fraud of any consequence that would basically undo any election. So he already started with his narrative of they're cheating, they're robbing an election, they're doing this, they're doing that, because he's trying to discredit what he knows is coming in November. And that is a major victory for working people. And so we have to be prepared, not just to vote, but to uphold and make sure we back up the results and not let them steal that election from us. And I think that's why May 1st this year, May Day Strong, was so important to see all the organization, all the workers coming out, because it may take a point where we have to create a crisis on our own to be able to make sure that our democracy is not taken from us.
David Huerta, happy anniversary to Justice for Janitors. Happy Juneteenth. It's happy Pride. We're just celebrating happy Black Music Month, all the things. And the reason that Trump and his MAGA are terrified, I'm in Harlem right now, you're in California. These two states are the future of this country. Diverse, diverse culturally, diverse racially, and especially they scared of y'all because y'all are already a majority Latino state. And they're like, yikes. They can't control them. They can't control y'all. And they're like, we can't control these people. So we are terrified. That's why they're scared. For good reason.
Absolutely. And they're scared that our community, especially Black and brown people, come together.
That's
You
what they're
know,
afraid of.
I mean,
Yes.
they're really terrified of that. I really think
Yes.
they are. And we should be encouraged by that, right?
Yes.
I always tell my folks, you know, when the two most marginalized communities in this country are marginalizing each other, they win, right? And so we have to make sure, how do we come together again,
Yes.
building, you know, come together, honoring our differences, embracing those differences, honoring each other's language, culture, all that, right? Because, you know, and when we come together, how do we make sure that when we come together, it's transformative, and it's
Amen.
transformative for everyone, right? And I think
Amen.
that's going to be the key. And I'm looking forward. You know, it's sometimes in every crisis there's an opportunity, and there is a crisis about right now, and so we have to figure out how we seize the opportunity in it.
David Huerta, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody where they can find Justice for Janitors, how they can support.
Well, there's a Justice for Janitors in almost every major city.
Great.
You know, there's Local 32B in the East Coast, Local 1 in Chicago, Local 26 in Minnesota, Local 6 in Seattle, Local 49 in Portland, Local 105 in Denver, and USWW in California. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a few of them, so I'm going to tell my brothers and sisters at SEIU, please don't get mad at me.
No, you remembered a lot. That's better than
I did, right? I did pretty good.
That was good. I was proud
But
of
you know,
man.
you go to, you know, look up SEIU. We're 2.1 million members across the country. We're growing. We have our intention is to grow by 1 million members over the next 10 years. You know, we're in the healthcare industry. We're in the home care industry. We're in the public sector. We're in now the gig industry and in property services. And so we're probably in a city near you. And you know, join us. I think it's the labor movement is right now picking up steam, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Amen.
You know?
Me too.
And I just want to thank you for having me on this
Of course.
your podcast. I've always been a big fan, like I said, and I just really appreciate you and you being a voice for all of us.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, good brother. Thank you. We'll have to hang out sometime. Next time I'm in
California.
I
like that. I like that. I'll do that.
Sounds
Let's do
good.
that.
All right,
my
friend.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Cheers. All right. We like him. David Huerta is a good guy. And SEIU is a great organization that is doing the Lord's work. All right. Let us also talk about another good man. His name is Dr. George Byron Koch. Dr. George Byron Koch. And his amazing book, Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves, also sponsoring this program tonight, because of course we're talking about fighting the power, fighting against the powerful and powerful financial elites who do not want us to thrive. So the Joy Reid Show is brought to you tonight by Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves. It is a book by George Byron Koch, and we need a hard reset on who we allowed to lead us. It's not about communism or socialism or capitalism so much as it is about those who take over and manipulate any system to benefit themselves at the expense of others. George Koch calls them bullies and parasites who turn the rest of us into their slaves, exploiting others, denying us what we need in order to enrich themselves. They are clearly thieves. So get the clear-eyed analysis that will help you educate others with stories, history, and facts that you can digest easily and then explain expertly. Take back what has been stolen from us. We can do it. Go to bps.online or text BULLY, bully, to 511-511, and you can buy it today. It's free if you need it to be. Go to bps.online or text bully to 511-511. And listen, in this moment, we need to be well read and read up on what's happening so we understand how to fight back. Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves by George Koch. Get it now. It could change your life. Go to bps.online or just text CARE to 511-511. Text CARE to 511-511. You got to read the Bullies book, y'all. Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves by George Koch. You will use his insights. You will use them every day, and you will be the smartest person at the water cooler. Text CARE to 511-511 today. All right, y'all. And if you text CARE to 511-511, by the way, you'll receive a link to get your book, and just note that text rates may apply. So welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. Do be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've bought merch, be sure to tag us. If you've got your fabulous Juneteenth t-shirt, you can tag me at Joyanne Reid on IG, or you can tag the show at Joy Reid Show on Instagram. You can use the hashtag readers. Throw that in there as well. If you guys are a Team TJRS person, be sure to hit the little bell thing to get a notification for when we are live. Don't forget the QR code is up. I think Jason's going to put it up for Run Me My Slush Money, because if the slush money is flowing, we want to make sure that you are getting it as well. Because why should insurrectionists be getting a big slush fund full of our tax money? If they're going to throw out money there, throw money out there, it needs to come to the people. And also you can get a letter, which you can download and send right to your members of Congress and to your senators saying, hey, no slush money for January 6ers, do real reparations, or for God's sakes, use the tax money to fix back our Capitol and get it back to the way it was when the bad guy got here. So President Obama, we love President Obama. We're going to hear President Obama's voice only if we're going to hear a president on the show tonight, because it's Juneteenth. President Obama did an interview with my friend Craig Melvin on NBC News, and he weighed in on Trump's Iran failure. Here he is.
Of what we know about the deal so far.
I am very happy to see a ceasefire, and I'm hopeful that it holds. But in terms of what was the original rationale for this war, which was there was a deal in place in which Iran had agreed not to develop nuclear weapons. This administration, or a prior version of this administration, pulled out of it, which caused then Iran to develop more nuclear capacity. We've now fought a war, spent billions and billions of dollars, put an enormous strain on our military. A lot of people have died, and it feels like we're back where we were before we started the war, except maybe a little bit worse off.
13 people have died that we know of, 400 at least injured that we know of, and I'm sure they're undercounting the numbers. So as usual, President Obama being far more gracious than any of us, or that I would have been. Let me just speak for myself, because I would have been a lot shadier about it. But yeah, it's a failure. It's a failure. Even right-wing TV has not been able to defend this mess, because again, we started a war with Iran because Donald Trump got out of the JCPOA, which is the Obama agreement. By the way, this was on Tucker Carlson's show, believe it or not. So it turns out that the $1.7 billion that was given to Iran as part of the joint the JCPOA, which was the Obama era deal, which was not just the US, it was the US and the EU as well. The 1.7 billion was because we had been sued by Iran in the global court, in the world court, in The Hague. They had taken us to court because when the Shah of Iran, who we imposed on Iran, the Shah goes into Iran, he's running the country, brutalizing his people. They become the #1 customer for U.S. air bombers. They were buying U.S. military equipment from the United States because they were now our friend, right? And we have this Shah friend that is brutalizing his own people. They started buying bombers. They requested the bombers. And then when the revolution happened and the Shah was thrown out, they wanted their money back. They were like, we bought these things. They never were delivered because the 1979 revolution happened before the U.S. could actually deliver the bombers. We would have been delivering the bombers to the Ayatollah Khomeini. And so we were like, yo, we're not delivering those bombers. You ain't getting them. But we still had their money. That was the 1.7 billion, which was the 300, 400 billion they had paid for the bombers plus interest. That is what President Obama wound up sending back to them. Because again, we owed them their money back because they never got the bombers. They never got the product they had purchased. And because there were sanctions on Iran, the only way you could actually send them the money was to put it on pallets and do it in cash and fly it over to them, stop in Europe and send it over there. Literally, that's Trita Parsi who said that on Tucker Carlson's show. And Trita is the expert who, by the way, this regime is trying to maybe deport because they're angry because he tells stuff like that. He tells the truth. That is why President Obama, under him, 1.7 billion was given over to Iran. You know how much money Trump is giving them? 300 billion. So we had Iran getting sanctioned. I mean, pledging to not have a nuclear weapon, having inspectors able to go in anytime they wanted to make sure that they were not developing nuclear weapons. We gave them back the money that we were going to lose the lawsuit. The lawsuit was actually, we were going to lose. And so we ended the lawsuit, gave them their 1.7 billion, which was their money plus interest that we owed them anyway. Trump is now giving them $300 billion, very few strings attached, no onerous inspections, and he's giving them $300 billion. So yeah, the deal was bad. Here's right-wing media not even trying to help him out.
April, you said that this is all about ensuring that Iran doesn't become a nuclear state. You said that no one would be prepared to exchange lower gas prices for Iran becoming a nuclear state, and yet it seems that that's effectively what President Trump has just fairly openly said, that he has made that trade, because there is no commitment in this MOU for Iran not becoming a nuclear state in the future. If you had been involved...
But they actually expressly state it. I mean, I've got it right in front of me.
No more so than they did in front of the Islamic Republic and there are no inspectors, right? There's no inspection mechanism.
Not procure or develop nuclear weapons. I mean, it expressly states it.
Which was the first sentence, the JCPOA, but that was backed up by an inspections regime. If you had been given a free hand to draft this memorandum of understanding and draft this deal, what would you have wanted to put in it that is not there now?
Well, and the paragraph 8, which says that in this memorandum, goes on to include that the International Atomic Energy Agency will be involved in the regime of ensuring compliance, but we don't know what the entire agreement will entail.
How frustrating is the fact that we're going to see gas prices go up again? We just spoke to an economist before, and he said, yes, we saw the prices go down because the Strait of Hormuz and the peace deal was reopened. Now it's closed again. He says we could see those prices jump as early as tomorrow morning.
Well, I'm a big supporter of President Trump, but again, sometimes you wonder if we shouldn't have let this war go on a couple more weeks so it was more apparent who won the war and who lost the war.
Well, I think Iran thinks it is apparent. They're broadcasting to anyone who will listen that they're going into this with the upper hand and with complete authority. So we'll see how that's handled in the negotiations. Congressman Glenn.
That was Glenn Grothman, Congressman. Let me just help you out, Congressman. Iran won the war. Okay? Iran won the war. Donald Trump lost the war. President Obama had contained Iran's nuclear ambitions with the JCPOA. He did an excellent job. We had onerous inspections. We had settled a case we were going to lose and be humiliated on the world stage. So we settled, gave them $1.7 billion of their own money back. We didn't pay them additional money. Now we're giving them $300 billion. They are the toll collector, completely free to impose or not impose tolls on the Straits of Hormuz. They have 100% control of it. They know they can now charge a toll if they want to. We're not doing anything about that. We lost. We lost the war. And we started the war for no literal reason other than the current president is jealous of Obama and can't stand that he had something. So he has to undo everything Obama made. And I'm going to do it better. No, you're going to do it worse because you're stupid. You're not good at things. You're bad at things. Mary Trump has said this over and over and over again. Ran into Mary Trump recently at Rise Up and Sing, and she was very clear. He's bad at everything. Her uncle Trump, that's her Uncle Donald, and she said he's bad at everything. He's bad at everything, and he has to get saved by someone else because everything he touches, he screws it up. These people are jealous of the Obamas because Obama is good at things. Iran won the war. Let's just end this debate. There's no reason going on and on about it. We lost because Bibi the Butcher ordered Donald Trump, maybe he dangled the Epstein files in front of him and said, I'm going to put these out if you don't go to war with Iran. So Bibi the Butcher made him do it. He did it. He cannot even get right-wing media to back him up now. You lost the war. You lost a war you started. Let me play you one more clip. And this is not him. We're not going to let him talk on tonight. But you've got to hear this. The Trump dementia stories are getting like epic. They're getting epic. So there's this new book that Maggie Haberman wrote that is yet another sort of book. We're going to talk a little next week about some of the things they withheld on the Epstein files, and the Epstein survivors are furious about it. But a couple of the things that came out in this new book, one of them, that there's a story about Trump aides going into the Oval Office and finding Donald Trump with a tube of super glue, gluing gold like filigree onto the fireplace with super glue. And they were like, at this point, that just seemed normal to them because these are the kind of things he would do. Here's one of the other stories from the book. This is C3.
The book also details how the president sees himself when compared to notorious world leaders like Napoleon, Stalin, Mao, even Hitler? Explain.
Right. So this is, frankly, an extraordinary story. First of all, the book, more than 1,000 interviews, 3 years of research, covers the first 14 months of this term. And in March, Maggie and Jonathan Swan go to the Oval Office for a formal sit-down interview with the president. He's very proud about some presidential historian has given him this document, which he says shows he's more powerful than Hitler and Stalin and Attila the Hun. I'm not sure why you would want that comparison. And he's proudly reading it and showing it to them, and they can't figure out who the presidential historian is. And they start searching, name doesn't show up, but the president had said that this historian was a friend of former Hall of Fame golfer Gary Player. So they search Gary Player, the historian. The historian is Gary Player's former caddy and confidant.
Again, tracks on some
Yo, Gary Player's caddy is the historian who said Trump is more powerful than Hitler, Stalin. Wait, where are we going with? Yeah, that is the kind of praise that Donald Trump appreciates. A caddy / historian on the side. He thinks that person is an historian. He got dementia, y'all. I'm sorry. He just got dementia. He just has dementia. It is but let's just go on one more thing. This is how much his brain is cooked, fried, soaked in urine and, Play-Doh. His brain is mashed potatoes. Okay. His brain is mashed potatoes. And Jonathan Swan is the one person who really interviewed Donald Trump well since Barbara Walters. Jonathan Swan did the best interview with Trump since Barbara Walters in the 90s. And he interviewed him while he was already sundowning, which was brilliant. And he didn't let him go roll over, but he's a man, so he let him. But yes. So you heard that story, right? So he says he's more powerful than Hitler and Stalin, etc. And Attila the Hun, according to the caddy, who he thinks is a historian because he's saying something nice about him. He was gluing with super glue. I don't know how they're going to get it off. When he's gone, they're going to have to fumigate the White House, get rid of all the bugs because, Israel has probably loaded the place with listening devices. They're going to have to get all those Russian and Israeli listening devices out. And then they're going to have to cover the thing and bomb it to get rid of whatever else is happening in there. Yeah, his brain is dog poop, Eric. Eric Martin Media says his brain is dog poop. It totally is. Let's do one more thing. Donald Trump is so bad at even construction, etc., that he thought you could just put blue strips of painted blue stuff at the base of the reflecting pool to turn its swimming pool blue. Jason, play the next clip. This is what's happening to the reflecting pool right now.
And there's a nice big chunk of the reflecting pool. Yeah. Oh, it is blue. How about that? Big chunk of it for you. 3 days ago, I was able to drive right in front of the Capitol. $18 million well spent.
Reid Love 21 said, get the Dettol. The Dettol. They need Dettol. I'm telling you, all my Guyanese love people. Trust me, we need Dettol. Yeah, the swimming pool is not only green because it's full of algae, but the whole bottom is peeling off. Real quick before we move on, it's no wonder. The polls are terrible. Donald Trump's polling on the economy, only 30% of people approve of the job. 33% of people approve of the job he's doing on the economy. I don't know about the unsure. Not sure what's wrong with that 7%. Not really sure what's wrong with that 33%. And then if you go to the percentage of people who are saying that gas prices are making it really impossible for them to live, 78% of Americans say gas prices are putting a strain on their household budget. So that's where we are. So that's where we stand on Juneteenth. Real quick before we move to our next segment, the Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Quince. Summer always makes me rethink what I am reaching for every day. Lighter fabrics, better materials, pieces that just feel great the moment that you put them on and look effortless. That is why I keep coming back to Quince. Absolutely love them. And their website is like actually will keep you on it for like hours because it's really cool. They focus on high quality essentials. Just think breathable linen, soft organic cotton, washable silk, but without the luxury markup. It's that rare balance where everything feels elevated, but it's still easy and affordable. Quince has beautiful everyday pieces like 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops with style starting at just $32. Excellent price. Their denim is soft and easy to wear. Their organic cotton sweaters, perfect for layering on cool summer nights. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middleman. So you are paying for quality, not that big brand markup. And it's not just clothing. Quince, first of all, again, their website will keep you on it because they have really become a destination for elevated essentials across the home kitchen, bedding, fabulous sheets, gorgeous everything, making it easy to bring a more premium feel into your everyday life. So if you want to elevate your summer wardrobe and really even elevate your summer household, you want some new pillows, you want some new fabulous things for your home, and you want that beautiful quality, but you do not want to pay through the roof because you're on a budget, go to quince.com/joyreid for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. It is also now available in our favorite country, Canada. That is quince.com/joyreid for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/joyreid. Okay, so the stars who came out, let's go back to that just for a moment, because I actually can't get enough of it. The stars who came out for the Obama Presidential Library opening, and Jason, you could roll that again. It really is a reminder that the culture truly does still belong to the left. And, you know, the other side has got Kanye and Nicki Minaj, et cetera, but they only shift to that side after they've already sort of gone through some things, right? I mean, with Nicki Minaj, we don't know what the motive is, but she's got the issues with a couple family members that got some pedo issues, some legal potential issues. She needs her immigration stuff to get fixed, or people who've gone to prison and Trump gets them out or gives them a pardon and they have to do the thumbs up video. We don't know what's going on with Kanye, but there's, allegations of some mental illness, et cetera. At least it seems so. But the sort of A-listers, the people who are in the culture now and in the culture formally, or who are A-listers for life, like Stevie, those people feel perfectly free to be down with the Obamas because they still are a positive, cultural, iconic couple that are mainstream in the culture. Meanwhile, for Donald Trump, he just can't access that. If you look at the stars even the stars who said no to him, the stars who wouldn't go, they weren't even A-listers. They were kind of people from maybe, formerly really popular, or like wonder types. If you can pull D2, D1. Yeah, it's these guys. It's people from, it's not people who are that current in the conversation. Let's just put it that way. CNC Music Factory, not terrible, but not like people you'd be go-tos for who you'd want to see at an event. And even they wouldn't go because they're like, we can't be associated with this man. Joining me now to talk about all things entertainment is our dear friend, Chris Witherspoon, entertainment journalist, producer, and entrepreneur known for his signature accessible approach to media, culture, and storytelling. And by the way, he and I will be together in the great state of New Jersey on July 18th for a fabulous event called ViewerCon. Jason, throw up the save the date. It is going to be great so that people can take it. There it is.
Yes.
Listen, talk about the A-list. We are the A-list, Chris. But before we get to the Obamas and the culture, talk about ViewerCon. What is it? What are we going to be doing?
Okay, first off, before I go to ViewerCon, I want to give you your flowers, Joy. You last week at your Joy Reid live show, for your audience, I want you to know this was the best thing to happen to New York City last Thursday. Your team, Jason Reid, everyone was impeccable. It was the show that we need every month here. So please bring it back, the Joy Reid live show. It was iconic. I mean, you were singing, you was dancing, dipping and doing it. I don't know how you do it, Joy.
It was fun. Listen, we had a great time. And look, we opened it. And happy Pride, by the way, because It's not just Juneteenth, it's happy Pride. And I don't know if you heard that in DC, they're curtailing the number of streets that that Pride can even operate on. They're making it real hard. But New York City's going to be on fire. Like New York is going to be lit. Like that's the biggest Pride Fest.
Yes, enjoy. As you mentioned, ViewerCon is going to be in New Jersey, and that's going to be lit. This is the cookout for content. I mean, Joy, you know, I have been on so many stages: Comic-Con, BravoCon, CultureCon, Sundance Film Festival. I wanted to create a festival of our own that really is about the culture and people that love TV and film, pulling up to a city like Newark. And Newark, in many ways, kind of reminds me of what New Orleans was many years ago, where a lot of people intentionally can come to this city and make it great. So we're going to have the cast of Raising Kanan, stars our presenting sponsor, Patina Miller, Tony and Grammy winner, Makai Curtis, who's also in that show, Tay Diggs, who's the co-founder of his own vertical drama company, will be on stage talking about The Best Man and all his great roles and all the tea there, but also about breaking into Hollywood as an entrepreneur. Bevy Smith, the queen Bevy Smith, will be there talking about In Bed with Bevy, and also just like blazing her own trail in Hollywood. One of my friends, Keelan Darrell Jones, he was in Michael. He played Michael's bodyguard in this huge movie, Michael, that broke all the box office records. He will be there. I mean, a lot of surprise guests. You guys can get tickets at viewercon.co, viewercon.co, and it's going to be cut off content. Joy, thank you for joining us and coming to the stage and telling your story also.
It's going to be so much fun. So Chris is going to interview me. We're going to turn the tables. Chris is going to interview me, and then I am going to interview a celeb. It's going to be fun because the idea is that in these times, I do think that entertainment becomes like medicine. You know what I mean? Like people are stressed, so stressed, economically stressed, physically stressed, spiritually stressed. And I do feel like people are rediscovering even some of the classics. Jason, if you pull up the sort of box office records right now, to me, Michael Jackson's documentary, the fact that Scary Movie is back, you know, it's something that everyone sort of kind of grew up with. It's like, it does feel like that's where people are, right? Is it like a nostalgia vibe? Like what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, people want to connect around content. That is partially why we're doing ViewerCon, but it's also, I think, why these numbers that you're seeing for the box office and for, you know, streamers and Netflix, content is so king right now because politics and everything else as we doom scroll is so depressing that I feel like it is the ultimate escapism. And as you mentioned, nostalgia is also king. You know, Scary Movie, that came out 25 years ago.
Yes.
Who would have thought that bringing that back would have been as successful as it was? And a lot of the content that you see that is doing well kind of has this multi-generational appeal and some nostalgia built in. My mama, who's 67, has not been to the movies in like 15 years, child. And she was taking my with her good friend because she had been hearing the buzz about it, but also there was something in there that she could relate to. And it also an impeccably done movie. It was so well done. But you're right. It's the kind of escapism that I think everyone needs right now.
And I think so are the Obamas, right? And I mean, Jason, if you would put it for I know I can't watch it enough. I love seeing it. I love Stevie Wonder. And I feel like the Obamas are the escapism people want. Like the reaction to this event really was more than people just miss Obama being president. This was the culture gathered. Tom Hanks, you know, you see Bruce Springsteen, you're seeing George Lucas, you see Steven Spielberg, you see like, it really was like Hollywood showed up in Chicago. And I think even that, put aside that it was a president, it was literally, I think, a breather for folks.
Yeah, it was, Joy. You know, I'll never forget during the strike that happened a couple of years ago. I said this on air. I really believe that our greatest export in this country is not our coffee beans, it's not our oil, it's our stars, it's our celebrities. It's our TV stars. It's our movie stars. People like Tom Hanks, as you mentioned, the Tyler Perrys of the world. It's our athletes. We saw that happen with the NBA this past week.
Yes.
It is the greatest export. It is the thing that our country does better than anyone else. People around the world will go to movie theaters to see our stars. So the fact that they came out for the Obamas, who also are stars, but I think who also celebrated the arts in a way that we are seeing that totally, you know, downturn with the current administration, says so much. It's hard to get these folks to come out. Their schedules are crazy. They want to be there. There was no appearance fee for these folks. They wanted to be there and support the Obamas, but I think it also was a message that needed to be sent that is, we can have this country back again. We can pull together, remind young people and people around the world of what worked and what was one of the best legacy administrations that we can look back on. And hopefully in 2 years, turn the chapter, turn the page, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling that vibe. It's sort of it's tempting to be a little nervous about it because I think people were feeling that vibe when Kamala started running. Like something shifted when she started running. There was a joy again in politics. People were like, "Oh, I can pay attention to this again because it's joyful, it's celebrity filled." And I do think Americans, maybe it's a little shallow on our part, but we love celebrities. Like we love to be around. Obama attracts them, and so that's part of what attracts us to him. And Kamala does the same thing. Like she got Megan Thee Stallion. Like, oh, I'm there for that because now I'm feeling like the culture and my politics kind of are aligned. Whereas the current administration, this UFC thing, which is it's a niche audience. It's not a mass audience. Even boxing is more of a mass audience. UFC is a lot more niche. They had like 8.8 million people watched it on Paramount Plus. They tried to inflate the numbers, but it was about that number. That is far fewer than watched the Knicks. The Knicks final was the most watched final, I think, in like a decade because it brought the country together and it's a broader audience. So it is interesting that Trump turns out to be a niche marketer.
Oh, 100%. And I think that also Trump, he loves business. He loves seeing business that thrives and folks making money. And to your point, the Knicks not only made money in terms of just like ratings, right? They also brought $90 million a day in revenue to New York City. Each game that we had here, when they were here or when they weren't here, the city was printing paper. And so I'm curious to see which players do wind up going to the White House. I heard that they weren't it. I heard Whoopi Goldberg say this on The View this week, and I kind of agree with her. I want them to go. You know why I want them to go? I want them to go because the Knicks represent something so much bigger than basketball right now. Those are men of color, primarily Black men, who came together, who defied the odds, who were knocked down and got back up. They are the face of resiliency and I think Black excellence. And to go to the White House and to remind young Black boys, young Black women, this is our house. The White House is ours. This country, we can get it back, you know? So for me, the message of them going there and possibly doing something like this, who knows?
See, we rarely disagree, Chris. We almost agree on everything.
Tell me.
So I think they should not go. And the reason I don't think they should go is that Donald Trump wouldn't even get the message. Because he's not capable of getting the message, both because he's cognitively declining, and also because this is a man who thinks that the only good purpose for Black men is sports. He has no problem with Herschel Walker, no problem being around a Mike Tyson, because he thinks Black people are basically chattel. They're good for putting on the field, putting in the court, and being an athlete. So he's going to be polite to them because he's like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. What he thinks is inappropriate is for a Black man to be the president. What he thinks is inappropriate is for Black men to be in the Pentagon, to be a general. That's why they won't let a Black man be a one-star general. So I'm like, if you have a president that will not allow, through his defense secretary, will not allow Black men to be even a one-star general and dismissed all of the Black men out and literally covered up Colin Powell's exhibit at Arlington, literally covered up what Medgar Evers' exhibit at Arlington, because he thinks Black men can't be heroes, can't be anything but athletes. So he wouldn't get the message. And then the second thing is they could send a message back to him where they would say to him, you're not going to share in our victory, because he wants to take credit for it. He's going to say they won because of him. He's going to say he's the biggest and most important Knicks fan. He's going to take advantage of it. He's not cognitively healthy enough to get the message. And he's also an asshole. And he doesn't deserve to be around those guys. I think it would be, and also the last piece I'll add, I almost might have gone with you, and I actually wouldn't have, but I could almost see it if they hadn't disrespected Michelle Obama on the grounds of the White House. I think after Michelle Obama was disrespected on literally the grounds of the White House, particularly somebody like a Josh Hart that's got a chocolate brown wife, cannot go and stand in that same space with his chocolate beautiful wife at home and his beautiful little Black boys at home, his little twins, and stand next to that racist ass president. And he's gonna I say, do not give him he don't deserve to stand next to them.
Okay, listen. I am using your talking points going forward. Thank you for those. Just want you to open up politics. You gotta break it down for the children. Break it down for the children. Help America know. I hope that everybody got those receipts, and moving forward, those are my talking points. Okay.
But to go to the Obamas, we know they should do. Chris, you don't be dope. If they all went as a group to the Obama Presidential Library and did a field trip to I bet you they would give them a personal tour. I'll bet you they would take them on a tour. What am I looking at here? Oh, there's a poll. Chris, you have caused there to be a poll.
Oh Lord,
Winston
Jesus!
has come to me with a poll.
Oh
The
Lord,
poll is: Do you think the Knicks should go to the White House? Feel free to elaborate in the chat. The poll is: should the Knicks go to the White House? Please, y'all vote, and we'll say it at the end of the show.
And
I think they should take.
Audience knows I changed my opinion after your brilliant essay that you just gave and the read that you gave for the children. I have changed my opinion. I was referencing Whoopi. Just so you know, Whoopi Goldberg broke it down, but now I have switched to the Joy Reid opinion. Okay, and I agree.
Sorry, Whoopi.
Broke that down. No, ma'am. They shouldn't go.
Sorry, Whoopi. They should not go. They should go to the Obama Presidential Library, and I bet they would give them a beautiful tour. But I want to talk about the Obamas being content creators, because this is the first time, really in earnest, we've seen a former first family lean in the way they have. So it is Michelle Obama's production company that is producing this new series on Reconstruction that Barack Obama is going to be starring in. And they produced a bunch of stuff. My favorite one was the one about adults dating. Did you see that one?
Oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of that. But yes, I love that. I think it was
my God.
Later Daters, something
Later
like that.
Later Daters.
We need several seasons of that. I'm so here.
More Later Daters, please. But talk about them as content creators, because that's never happened before, right? From a first family.
I think it goes back to what you talked about earlier on with, the museum and all the stars that come out. The Obamas understand the power of entertainment. They understand that entertainment helps people understand the other and have empathy. It's the most effective storytelling that there is TV and film. So them launching Higher Ground Productions is so brilliant. It's so smart. They've always had these great connections in Hollywood, and they have this audience of not just folks in America that will follow them wherever they go. We trust the Obamas, right? We look at them as something beyond just presidents. They are kind of like culture kind of like barometers. So we trust them. It's brilliant, and it's brilliant for business. It wasn't coincidental that Netflix, as Netflix was scaling up over the past 5 years, put the Obamas in this deal, this first look deal, where all this Higher Ground production was going to Netflix. That just upped subscriptions for Netflix. It brought and it earned the trust of not just Black audiences, but audiences around the world that look to them as this sort of premium, elevated storytellers. I'm curious what else they want to do, because there really is no ceiling to this for them. They could begin making feature films. All of these stars like Viola Davis, I could go on and on. Julia Roberts, they love them. They love them. So if they send the script over, I guarantee you they're going to look at it twice and maybe thrice. Okay.
1,000%. And by the way, I mean, they could, like you said, they'd have their pick, and their daughters are also directing, producing. Like, their daughters are also in the mix. They're also in the industry. So the whole family is like a creative family. And so, I think the sky is the limit. And because their brand is still so pristine, they've been very smart. Their brand has not shifted or changed, and they have been out of the White House for a decade. That's the most solid brand.
And to your point, Joy, a little tea for your audience. I was at a party probably about 7 or 8 years ago for HBO's show called Girls, and Malia was interning at HBO at that moment. Malia Obama had an internship. Yeah, it was Malia. At HBO, and we had some time. She was at, in a corner with her friend. I was at the bar, and I saw her, and she was trying to kind of like stay away and be off to the side. And I went over and I spoke to her about the business, about what she wants to do. And I kind of told her what I just said to you. You can do whatever you want. Everyone will want to work with you in Hollywood. Your parents represent something to the Hollywood elite that really we haven't had before in showbiz. And so I think that they've gotten, Malia has gotten a lot of inside knowledge from working at these production companies and working at HBO. And she might be the person to be the president of the company very soon. They might pass the torch to her. She has the relationships and she has the receipts in terms of like knowing what works.
She does. And Chris, I can tell you that she's also the wonder twin of one of our dearest friends. When I tell you, we have a friend that could literally, our friend Lachelle could body double for each other. Because when I promise you, they look so similar. I'm like, it's great. I'll see pictures of Malia and I'll be like, is that Lachelle? Like, Our friend Michelle looks so much like her. It's so cute. Chris, so I have a surprise. It's not really a surprise. I'm gonna say it's a surprise guest for the audience because I want to bring somebody in, if you don't mind, and be hanging on to you for a little while. I will keep Chris on as long as I can. I just love talking to Chris. But so last week, one of the 470 things that I did while I was here in the city is I participated in Rise Up Sing Out. It was a No King's Day concert and rally with the legend Jane Fonda, who's now my bestie, Julia Roberts, Tessa Thompson, Bette Midler, Latasha Brown, Robert De Niro, Patti Smith, like all the people, all the feels. It was amazing. And one of the most powerful moments and one of the most powerful speeches at this event was given by a total fan favorite who got some of the biggest cheers in the room, okay? Actress and Broadway ingenue, Peppermint. Let's take a listen.
You know, we live in a time where that spotlight is dangerous for so many trans Americans. Trans children who should be living openly in their truth are intimidated by a government that cares more about censoring their bodies than feeding them. A government more concerned with what school sports they can play than whether or not those very schools are properly funded. These attacks on the trans community, they serve as a distraction from the immense hoarding of wealth and resources by billionaires and now trillionaires. A distraction from the failures of this government to protect its people instead of harming them. And these discriminatory attacks on the trans community also distract us from the very lopsided rate of anti-trans violence and murder that way too many trans people have fallen victim to. 11 trans people have been murdered in the past 3 months in this country, and I've not seen a single word about it on the news. I grew up during a time when transness wasn't recognized or talked about, and yet here I am, baby. Having experienced things most people, let alone trans people, don't get to experience. And still, I recognize my privilege in just simply surviving and being out and proudly trans.
And joining us now is dynamic actress, singer, and Broadway performer whose work spans television, music, and cultural storytelling. She rose to international prominence as a fan favorite finalist on RuPaul's Drag Race Season 9, where she was the first drag contestant to join as an openly trans woman. Peppermint then went on to make Broadway history as the first openly trans woman to originate a principal role starring in Head Over Heels. Hey, Peppermint, happy Juneteenth and happy Pride.
Happy Juneteenth. Hello, Joy. Hi, Chris. Oh my gosh. Hello, chat.
Hey, chat. And by the way, let me just add to you guys, in addition to being all of those things in Broadway ingenue, also the sweetest and kindest person in the world sent me tea. Look, this is the tea. So look, we're going to get the tea and the tea. And look at this. With a wonderful little card. Yes. And it says support. It says sip, support. Trans. We're going to sip and support. So I cannot wait to have this, but I'm going to have my little alcohol first.
Okay. And you can mix the tea with the alcohol later if you're feeling real creative. Okay.
Come on.
Yes. and Chris, I wanted to bring you all together. And so thank you all for being here. I wanted to first start by asking you, Peppermint, your speech was so moving to so many people in the room because they, as you said, our trans sisters and brothers are really feeling terrorized and terrified in this moment. In the LGBTQ, the T is really, really scared. So talk about your speech. And was there any specific story that inspired it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably not the most fancy answer, but it's really my own experience that I was able to pull from. And I've been asked to speak publicly a few times before, and it always is really daunting, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? You get nervous. And then, you'll watch a clip or something and you'll read a headline, and there's no shortage of those things these days. And then you get angry and you sit down for 15 minutes and there you have a speech that's too long, and then you got to start editing it. And so that's basically what ended up happening. I sat and was watching some of the local advocates and activists that were talking, trans advocates talking about the really tragic murder of yet another trans person here again. And so that was really the catalyst for wanting to have that conversation. But I also knew that this was an opportunity to bring people in who are empathetic, people who would usually be considered allies, people who are also experiencing the pain and the horror and the trauma that our government is levying upon us. And, you know, it's really difficult for a lot of people, whether they're immigrants or Black folks who are focused on the vote and how that's being snatched out of our hands, whether they are, you know, disabled people or wherever they fit in this group of people, in the intersections of marginalized people who are being terrorized by this fascist government, just to remind people that, listen, not only is there the LGBT community that is experiencing a lot of, I'll say this government has really shifted how it's treating the queer community. That's like the most generous way I could say it. But not only that, there are people who are immigrants, who are Black immigrants, who are disabled, who are also trans, like experiencing all of it at the same time. Yeah. And, you know, so that's kind of what the catalyst behind this speech was. And your speech was fire too.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It made Fox mad. So I feel like every time I make Fox angry, an angel gets its wings. So I feel like I did my job because they got pissed off about it. I'm like, did they get angry? They didn't get angry. Let me try. Make it worse.
Girl, that's right.
Chris, I know you have a wonderful Peppermint story. I wanted to hear it if you could. Please tell us your Peppermint story. I don't know if Peppermint knows that you have a Peppermint story, but you have
So Peppermint, listen, I was an NBC page back 2005, 2006. And I used to leave in 2006 and just be so sort of just like trying to find myself. You know, I would go walk around Hell's Kitchen, go to different bars, etc. Now it was in Hell's Kitchen wasn't Disneyland like it is now, where it's all cute and the boys in the Poom Poom shorts. And I used to go to therapy back in 2006 and 7, this gay bar, not therapy like a therapist. I had that now.
Oh,
it served as the same way though, you know.
It really did. You performed on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. And I would get my entire life, every Wednesday I was there. And I want people to understand that drag wasn't trendy back then, you guys. It wasn't what it is now. There was no RuPaul's Drag Race. It was dangerous to even walk into the club in drag or to walk out of the club in drag. And I remember you would have those pumps. You would have your Beyonce fan on Wednesday nights, and I would get my entire life. It was one of those moments where seeing your bravery, seeing your courage back when that wasn't trendy, empowered me to live my truth. And to continue to kind of climb the ladder in this business that I'm in, where being Black and gay is, I have a mark on my back, you know? So I want to thank you for that. I've watched your kind of star rise, and I know it hasn't been easy. I know that the doors you've opened in Hollywood haven't just opened up for you. And I'm just so proud and honored to have known you back when. Before the star, when we all knew at that bar you were going to be a star, I'm just so proud to have seen it happen.
Chris, thank you. My God, that is so sweet.
You're so welcome.
I wanted the two of you on together because I wanted you to get those flowers, Peppermint, because you know, Chris, you know, we were texting about you, and I was like, you know what, you need to tell that story to this sister. You need to hear it live right in front of the audience.
And she used to work for them tips. Okay, she would be up there working.
Ooh, honey,
for her calves and your legs, Peppermint, and them heels. This is 2006, child. I don't know what kind of gym routines you had back then, but
darling. Yeah, it was a struggle, honey, because the sad part is, you know, capitalism rears its ugly head again. The girl, I'm not working in the clubs these days, but that was, you know, many years ago. But I talked to a lot of girls who still do work in the clubs, or some of the newer queens, and they're getting paid the same exact amount of money today that we were getting paid 25 years ago, which is like maybe $100. And you know, and the bar owners would be so upset if you worked more than one night, because it would be their competition, like at another bar. But how are you going to live in New York City for $100 a week, a shift? You know, and so you have to earn them tips. You got to climb up that wall, whatever, break your back, whatever you got to do.
You got to sweep the tips. And what's crazy, you guys, is that drag now drives business for these bars. Like, because of Drag Race, you get everyone coming, women, great women, everyone comes to these bars now throughout the week to see the drag queens, for the booze too. But it's not the booze and the boys anymore. It's for the drag. It's for the entertainment. And so it's literally how these clubs are surviving. So it's crazy to think that they would downplay what that sort of like opportunity is bringing them.
Yeah, it's crazy because the other piece is, one of the things we talked about at the Joy Reid Show Live that Chris was at. You have to come to one, please, Peppermint. When we do another one when you're in town, please come.
Never
But
have.
we talked about like what's become like norm culture, right? Things that have become like sort of the sort of monoculture where it's just everybody knows it. And Pride Month is one of those things. Like you can try to say it's Nuclear Family Month or whatever, but it's already monoculture. So no matter what you say, it's Pride this month, and that's the way it is. But I do feel like drag has gotten there as well. That this is part of culture, and so trying to deny it, or like Ron DeSantis did in Florida, try to close businesses down, shut them down, you're just hurting your own economy. And I want to show a little clip because you've been one of the people that has really become a prominent star, not a trans star, but just a star, because everyone understands that you just are, your fame kind of transcends. You're not Black famous no more. You know what I mean? People be Black famous. That's the thing, people in the chat. I want to play a little clip from last season of Survival of the Thickest and it was about Peppermint's wedding. Here it is.
All right.
The category is love.
Survival of the Thickest. It's our wedding day. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. It's gonna take, I think, 3 days for us to film the wedding.
Happy to be here. All for the love, all for the gay shit.
Welcome to the wedding. Got me all dressed up, suited and booted. Right, Joyce, a great day.
Life is great. This is almost as chaotic and hectic as a real wedding, or probably even more, because there's a lot more cameras. Okay, yeah. Okay, and walk.
Before the season started, I remember Shel just said to me, there's one thing I know I want to do this season is I want Peppermint to get married, because we don't often see trans women getting married.
A gay wedding is something that people have seen, but this is actually with a trans woman and a heterosexual man. Blow your mind. Michelle, she's more than an ally. She's definitely a part of the queer community because of her connection, because of her love.
Everybody say love.
A wedding seems out of this world. Given my real experience, I know that a lot of my other trans sisters go through the same thing in meeting men. They're sexually attracted to us. They want to be around us, but they're ashamed to be with us. They certainly don't want anybody to know that they're with us. The people who aren't trans get to see how we should be treated.
Now, Peppermint, I understand that the actor that you were in the wedding is like your real life friend from high school, right?
What the actor that I got married to, we've been friends for a while now, but we actually met through the show, so only a couple of years.
Oh, yeah, he was portraying your friend from high school, right?
Yeah, he was he was portraying my friend from high school, and that's what Michelle, the star and creator of Survival of the Thickest, is really good at, is sort of like pulling from her life, from real life, and also my life when we got to be close with each other. She would talk to me about my romantic life and my dating or lack thereof, and then sort of want to work those real life stories into the series. And it is kind of confusing because when she said she wanted to give me a wedding, of course we released some of the clips, released some of the photos that we took there when we were filming, and people even in my real life actually thought I had gotten married on the show, like in real life, because I play the character of Peppermint, who is me. And, it's me. But I'm not really married,
But wait, can I just tell you, Chris, the other people, and I cut this thing long, and I was going to cut a little more because guess who directed the Vogue scene in this? Chris, our friend Tembi Bakes.
Oh my God, Tembi did?
I promise you.
Oh my God. Tembi is also a former NBC page from back in 2005 with me. Hollywood elite director right now, all the things. I love that you got to work with her.
Yeah, she's amazing. She was brilliant. And, I loved it. We had, that was one thing that was really key about the show. Not only obviously, if anybody who watches the show can see that it's a very diverse cast, the storylines are really inclusive, but beyond that, the experience on set is the same way, where there's all the directors are women of color, and most of the people, like the camera people, just people all over, are queer people, women of color, just like a really diverse group. And that's something that is, was really important to Michelle when creating the show. She also wanted to create that sort of atmosphere. So I'm excited for season 3, which comes out in a few days.
And,
That is amazing. Go ahead,
I want
Chris.
you guys that inclusivity is good for business, but radical inclusivity is even better. Some stats for y'all. In 2013, this little engine that could came out to Netflix. It was called Orange is the New Black. People don't realize what that show did for Netflix. Netflix wasn't a thing we talked about at the water cooler. That show is what put butts in seats, because you had characters like Laverne Cox's character, like Danielle Brooks, like Samira Wiley, like all these women who have gone on to be Emmy-nominated and drive the box office and also drive subscriptions at other streaming services. Some more history for y'all. In 2014, Amazon Prime had no hit. Do y'all know the first hit for that platform?
No.
It was a show called Transparent with Jeffrey. Okay, that show became the Golden Globe winner, the Emmy nominee. It is what every other series, every other tentpole series was kind of birthed from that ecosystem. Bosch, all the shows that came after that show were birthed because of that ecosystem. So again, inclusivity, it puts butts in seats. Audiences want to understand the other, and that's what these shows do, and that's what your show, Peppermint, is doing right now.
Yeah, indeed.
And I would say,
go ahead.
Beyond that, Chris, yes, it does help people understand who we are, which makes it a lot more difficult for them to go along with the sort of discrimination and poor treatment. But one of the things that it did, and I can remember now that you're saying it, I'm reminded of how I felt when I saw Orange is the New Black, when I saw Transparent. You could not keep me, you could put a cement wall between me and a television. I was getting to see that show. And and I know that there's everybody that I knew who was also queer or trans were watching those shows because we were so sort of starved for that representation, which is really important.
And by the way, Laverne Cox is not riding high right now, right? When you mentioned Laverne Cox, she's publicly stated that she's lost a lot of her work because of the DEI rollback. So to your point, Chris, Hollywood is hurting business. It's not even just hurting people, which is bad enough. The moral outrage of what they're doing is bad enough, but it's not even good for business.
Yeah, no, the anti-DEI it's silly. It's silly when it comes to what they're trying to do is scale these businesses. And I'm telling you, Orange is the New Black came out the same year as House of Cards. House of Cards was great, but that audience was niche. It was a slow burn. And guess what? House of Cards also had some inclusion. Frank Underwood was not a straight white man. He was bisexual and sexually fluid, and that show, being the fact that it wasn't your typical straight white male narrative, also helped grow that juggernaut. And now Netflix is the biggest behemoth that there is, and it's on the backs of those kind of characters. And, Orange is the New Black, that show that came out, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, before the word binge even existed, it helped birth that term because, you mentioned in Peppermint, you couldn't get enough of it because you were seeing yourself reflected, but the world couldn't get enough of it because it was highly entertaining. It was different. It was unique. There was an it factor. It wasn't what you could see on network TV. And people have to remember that are making the decisions as executives, that this kind of content, radically inclusive content, like Euphoria is a great example. It's radically inclusive. The first season, you had a trans character, you had Zendaya, who was gorgeous and talented, but you just had really brilliant, unique storytelling, and that broke records for HBO. Like, I don't get why they're not seeing that this is good for business.
And they're also seeing it go back. They are, right now, it's not just Laverne, who's obviously incredibly visible right now, but every one of the trans actors that I know, and myself included, are experiencing a dry spell. And I know that Hollywood in general is sort of going through a shift. A lot of the people who I know who are actors who are not queer or trans are also experiencing sort of like a lack of work right now. Okay. But, from the people that I hear that are still in the rooms and sort of pitching and having these conversations and on what shows to bring or what ideas should be created, they've gone back to the old sort of method, the old formula of like, we just want a show about a white guy that is like in the suburbs. And that's what the decision makers are saying is what is selling, unfortunately.
They may say that, but I can tell you, if you just look at what's popping on Netflix, that is not what's popping on Netflix. That's not what people are watching, not what people are talking about.
We've seen
Diversity
it.
sells. We've seen it. We know what's hot. It's
Come on.
the people. And that's why LaTasha Brown, as she always says, they'll be black because that is what sells.
Be screaming.
Yeah, they'll be black. Peppermint, Chris Witherspoon, really the most knowledgeable person when it comes to entertainment. He's going to give you facts and stats and everything. Peppermint, Broadway ingenue, star of Netflix. Beyond black famous, and also just famous. We appreciate both of you for being here. I'm going to have my tea after I have my cocktail.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Can I tell
so
people really quickly about the tea, if that's okay?
Please do. Yes, absolutely.
Listen, y'all, I know a lot of people right now, it's Pride. A lot of people are trying to figure out how they can be a good ally. So number one, just go to my socials and I'm posting a whole list of ways that people can step up their allyship that sort of matches the energy of what we're experiencing now. But one way is you can drink this tea that Joy is so beautifully holding up. It's called Peppermint's Transcendence. It's an herbal, caffeine-free blue vanilla mint tea. And every portion of every single sale of the tea goes to Advocates for Trans Equality, which is an trans-led organization that helps transgender people with their passports, that helps them with housing, that helps them with name changes, that helps them with everything that they need, including voting rights. And so you can go to, there's a QR code on there, but you can go to my social media, which is Peppermint247, and you can get the link. The tea is created in partnership with Moody Tea Company, which is a small Black-owned, queer-owned tea company. And I would love for you all to check it out. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Here's the tea right there. Y'all can get
There's
yourself
the tea.
There you go, honey.
There's the QR code. Okay, I don't know if you guys can get this QR code right on here, but go ahead and get your tea right now. I'm gonna give you all a minute to go ahead and go ahead, see if this will work. But if not, we are gonna post the link and we're gonna make sure you guys get it. We're gonna post it on Substack and on this description of this show. So y'all gonna all be able to get yourself some tea and also support the trans community who really needs support right now. Peppermint, Chris Witherspoon, you have made my Black History. Well, it's not Black History Month. You have made my Juneteenth / Pride / Black Music Month perfection. Thank you both
I can't wait to have you at ViewerCon. You guys head over to viewercon.co, viewercon.co, get your tickets. Peppermint, I want to invite you also to the stage. So we'll talk after this.
Let me know. Yeah, I'll be there.
You can bring your tea. Bring your tea.
And bring the tea.
All the stars. Yes, please, y'all.
Okay, can I pitch this? We need to do this. ViewerCon, sipping this tea.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And giving the
It's
tea.
done. It's already done. It's done. Now that we've spoken it.
I want
spoken. Love it.
Pastor Raising Canaan. I want everyone drinking your tea on stage. Please.
Everyone drinking the tea on stage. Okay, y'all. See you guys at ViewerCon. Happy Pride and happy Juneteenth. Thanks, y'all.
All right, bye.
Love you guys. Bye. Oh my gosh. Okay, look, we're booking ViewerCon guests, stage guests right here. Okay, before we go, you guys know how we have to end the moment of joy. We have not really talked about the World Cup other than Dave Zirin, wonderful Dave Zirin, coming on and talking about all the horrors of the way that these non-white athletes are being treated in this country. And, you know, whoever wants to come to this country right now, it's such a mess with Donald Trump, and they're so anti-immigrant and anti-Black and anti-brown and anti-immigrant. But if you want to talk about as much hate as the non-white players and the much struggle as they're seeing in trying to come to this country just to play the world's most beautiful sport, let me tell you the most beautiful team. Now, they come from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and that is my father's country, so I'm not being biased because my father is from there. I didn't even like my father. Okay, he was a bad, terrible guy. But his country, they prioritize dressing and clothes, and dandyism is a big part of the culture. So when I tell you the team from Democratic Republic of Congo came and stepped it up when it came to their fashion, let me show you. Our moment of joy is the airport arrival of the team from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is our moment of joy. Here it is. Listen, the team from the Democratic Republic of Congo, they were fresh in their fits. Right now, the DRC is ranked second in Group K behind Colombia and ahead of Portugal and Uzbekistan. After tying Portugal on Wednesday, they face Colombia Tuesday night at 10 p.m., then Uzbekistan next Saturday at 7:30 p.m., presuming that all, of the above don't get deported, Jason, by the racist regime.
Well, that too, but that is straight coming out of America. And I'm coming to America, rather. Eddie Murphy's
Listen,
movie.
the leopard.
I listen. That was fire. That was fire. Now, when you're gonna come, just show out like that. I mean, you just have to move aside. Move aside.
Move aside. They should win just based on the fits. You know what I'm
just
saying?
move aside. You know what I mean?
Move aside. And by the way, Ghana, we have been rooting for Ghana. Ghana with that clutch goal to Jason. That clutch.
Yes.
They scored in it was like the last minute of
No, it was literally it was in extra time. Yes, it was in extra time. They got that one goal and they moved on. I mean, they still got a ways to go, but good first try. Go Ghana.
We're rooting for the African teams, particularly because they're just facing so much of a fight, just having to try to make it through customs and immigration.
Well, let's see if they're allowed to come into the country.
Queen of Zamunda. I mean, how did Diesel Flower say she wants to be the next Queen of Zamunda?
I know that's right.
Look, let me tell you, Wakanda and Zamunda is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let's just be clear.
Right.
That is Wakanda. They have every mineral. They have vibranium. I promise you, they have vibranium. And the Europeans are trying to take it all, but they take and take and take, and they still have more. They have diamonds. They have everything.
I tell you what, Joy, the next time we go to Ghana, you see one of those bags? I don't know how, but I gotta go.
I want that bag down. I'm gonna try to. Listen, I just did an interview with for a documentary called Finding Sankofa, and the brother who is the executive producer has a clothing line. Jason, when I tell you the clothing line is, maybe this is the man that can get us that bag, because I saw that bag too and I was like, that bag. That's your next anniversary present. I will find that bag.
Okay, y'all heard that,
you
right?
Walked in that fit, you need the whole fit and the
bag. Sis, trust me.
Vote for if Jason should have the fit and the bag.
The
Jason
whole
need to show
thing,
up
and
like
I will
that.
take a picture and I will pull up just like that. Trust me.
Let's get the answer to the poll before we go, because we have to go. Let's get the answer to the poll. Y'all, please tell me the answer to the poll. I need Winsome to the stage. Not she don't have to come to the stage, but somebody tell me the answer to the poll, please.
Oh yeah.
How do I find it? Y'all, I'm not good at this part. How do we find the? Okay, here comes. Okay, Winsome coming in with the answer to the poll. Let's see, Winsome. All right, let me mute your. Okay, all right. Let's see. Where is it? Right here. Do you think the Knicks should go to the White House? Feel free to elaborate in the chat.
Hell to
94% stand with me and say no. 94% say no.
We love Chris. We know Chris is trying to go high, but
no, Chris is with us now. Chris is
he's with us.
To our side, but Whoopi Goldberg, 6% stand with Whoopi Goldberg and say they should go and represent Black men in their finest and fullest, and 94% stand with me and Jason, and they say, stay the hell out of White until they do right by Michelle.
That's right.
Nobody Black should go to White House. I promise you, nobody Black should go until Donald Trump personally apologizes to Michelle using her full government name.
That's right. Get a bag full of marsh bars. I love that.
Listen, we're gonna get a bag. Okay, Jason's getting a bag full of mosh bars. But it's
so
gonna be a fabulous.
And Joy, I just want to say this one thing to all the fathers out there, the hardworking fathers out there who stand by their families, who basically give it their all to be there for their families no matter what. We don't get much love during the year, and I get it. But we still holding it down. We know we don't ask for too much. But I just want to say, me first, happy Father's Day to all the family and TGRS family and all the fathers that read us. We still need to get our men count up, though. Our men counts, they're there, but we got to get them.
Let's get some brothers in here. Okay, we're going to do.
Happy Father's Day, fam.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for saying, bless up the fathers, says what is it? Hall of Abundance? Halls of Abundance? Yes, Halls of Abundance. Happy Father's Day to you, Jason, a fantastic father, a great dad, involved and caring and always looking out for the fam. Happy Father's Day to Jason. Today, Winston was negotiating his Father's Day breakfast. It sounded fabulous because she know how to really bake and cook and stuff. So Father's Day breakfast is going to be on point. We're going to figure out a fabulous Father's Day
What time
dinner.
y'all get on that train? What time y'all getting in tomorrow?
We get on the train in the morning.
Okay, all right.
Back by midday. We'll be back by midday. We're going to be there. We're going to be back. But Nala is going to be so excited because while Father's Day is coming, you know when I step in the house,
she's right down here too. She's
right
here. As soon as you walk in the door, she's gonna run away from me like she doesn't even know me.
She's gonna forget about father. She cares about her father when I'm not there. But
when you're not here,
when I'm not there, it's all about father. But when I walk in the door, it's all
she
about
don't
father.
know me. She don't know me. She act like she don't know me. All right, guys.
We're gonna not remember. We're not doing our insiders live. We're not gonna do our members only live this week. Yeah. We're gonna give you guys the rest of your Juneteenth evening. Our after party will be next week Friday. If you've poured something to sip, go on and sip it. Sip, sip, sip away. And we will see you guys on Monday. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We love all our TJRS men, all our readers men. Give a dad some love. If it's not your father, it's a father you know. Give a brother some love. Give a man some love. Happy Father across all races, generalities, all ethnic groups, across whatever kind of dad you are, whoever you are, wherever you are. We love you. Happy Father's Day and see you all on Monday. Much love from your friends at the Joy Reid Show. Peace.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.